Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me to speak in this prestigious conference. They gave me a topic about Indonesia busy skies. I think most of you already know that Indonesia, we're growing. Um, Indonesia, I think right now we are one of the fastest growing aviation market in the world. In fact, I would say right now we are facing what we call happy problem because market keep on continuing to grow, but we have challenges in terms of the infrastructure, say the hard structure or the soft structure. So these are the things that we're facing in Indonesia. Maybe for some of you who comes probably not from Asia, I would start in terms of giving a brief about Indonesia. I think it's a unique opportunity within Asia itself. Um, if you look at the country, the cities in Indonesia, you're talking about Jakarta and surrounding, that's about 12 million, Surabaya about 2.6 million, Ujung Pandang or Makassar about 1.2, Medan 2 million. Compared to the other cities within the region, these cities is quite huge. Population about close to 250 million. If you take 10% of the population itself, it's almost as big as Malaysia as a whole. So, as we all know, that when the economy is growing, the passenger will keep on growing. And we are the biggest archipelago. Some people say 17,000 islands. We don't manage to count one by one, but I guess it depends on the high tide or the low tide in terms of how many islands we have. So the opportunity in Indonesia is quite big. You can fly, and then you can go by sea or by rail. But in the past few years, the growth of the air transportation has been quite tremendous. Um, and this is what people see what Indonesia will be in 2030. Was done by McKinsey in terms of right now Indonesia is one of the a member of the G20, number 16th in terms of the economy in the world. They are predicting about we're going to become the seventh. But the most important thing is, if you look at right now the middle class about 45 million, by 2030 it's about going to be about 135 million. So the potential growth, the purchasing power of these people. So we get 135. And if you look, and also in terms of the skilled workers from 55 million, it's going to be about 113 million. And the business itself is going to be about from half a trillion to 1.8. So this is quite a future in terms of a positive future about Indonesia. However, if you look at Indonesia, you should not focus only on the big cities. You should always also look at the secondary cities. If you look at the mid-sized cities, it is growing faster than even Jakarta itself. You look at if you look at the average about the large middleweight cities, population about 5 to 10 million, the growth is about 6.7%. You look at the mid-size in terms of 2.5 million, it's about 6.4. So these cities are growing. Purchasing power of the people there is growing. They will travel. Products in terms of cargo businesses will also be growing. So this is the potential where also in Garuda we are looking at this. So not only the major cities in Indonesia, but also the secondary cities itself. And if you look at the top 25 cities, excluding Jakarta, you look at that, these are the 25. And probably some of you might not have heard about the cities. Probably you've heard about Surabaya, Bandung, but others, like for example, like Muara Enim, Banyuwangi, you might not have heard about it. But these are really growing. And then, and we are also, right now, if you look at the market of Indonesia, the big cities, it's growing, but the growth of the smaller cities is continue to grow. Therefore, we are right now, I think we are looking at that and then should focus in terms of getting more revenues in terms of the busy skies in Indonesia itself. Now going to the topic in terms of the challenges that we're facing. As I mentioned to you, market is growing, but we have a happy problem, happy challenges. The infrastructure in the air transport infrastructure is, if you look at the ASEAN, we are basically lower than the ASEAN average. Indonesia, the air transport infrastructure, this is done by this study in terms is done during the World Economic Forum. If you look at Indonesia, the point that they got, where Indonesia got, is 3.3, which is ASEAN average is about 3.6 lower. We are below Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and Brunei in terms of the air transport infrastructure. In terms of the tourism infrastructure, we are also below. So in the ASEAN countries, so we are doing these things. Government has realized this. Government has launched what they call the MP3EI, which is a plan in terms of how to accelerate the development of the economy of Indonesia until 2025. And if you look at the investments that they're looking at, airport infrastructure is one of them. Of course, we have roads, port, energy, and others. But the airport infrastructure is one of them. And government has allocated about 3.2 billion in terms of building airports. I think we've showed the proof of this. We just finished Bali, Medan, and then Balikpapan is on the way. Surabaya, they're building a new terminal. So government is focusing in terms of developing this infrastructure. And the major infrastructure of airports that government has done between 2013 and going to be done until 2018, you see all these places, as I mentioned to you, in Medan, Balikpapan, Samarinda, Berau, Morotai, even Denpasar, Yogyakarta, Surabaya, Majalengka, and even Jakarta itself. So we are spending about 2.8 billion in terms of investing it. And the government is also planning to add 24 new airports between 2013 to 2015, which all of them are in the secondary cities in Indonesia. You have Muara Bungu, Enggano. About 12 airports will be in operation in 2013, and 7 in 2014, and 5 in 2015. And they are allocating about 2.1 trillion in terms of for this new airport of these 24 airports. But if you look at this is Indonesia. This is the potential of Indonesia in terms of what us as an airliner should look at, more revenues that we can get of this growth in Indonesia itself. Now, what is Garuda doing? We are keen to capitalize these mid-cities. If we look at all the cities, we need a special type of aircraft in terms of going into those secondary cities. Probably it's mostly due because of the constraints in the runways itself. And turboprop right now is the right choice to go into those markets. Based on IATA PAX IS data, at least 35% of the market has an O&D distance between 400 nautical miles in the shorter runways. And then the opportunities are there in terms of growing. And if you can see also that the investments that's being done by the government, these cities will continue to be so-called improved to capture the growth of the market. If you look at the turboprop market situation, the market in general is aware of this market itself. People in the rural area, and then if you look at the increasing demand in the flight service, most of these destinations, they don't have daily services because limitation. And right now, I think we have an airline which is Wing Air, which is consistently in this turboprop. We have several turboprop operators in the west, in the mid, and in the east of Indonesia. I'll name it Wings, Express Air, Trigana, Calstar, Transnusa, Susi Air, and even Mapati is serving. But if you look at this busy map, you see all these small cities that needs to be connected and that needs to be so-called served in terms of not only passenger but also the cargo. Now Garuda, right now we are investing in the turboprop aircraft. We are starting to invest. What we are offering right now, it's another mode of transportation, convenient and faster, and then it also serves as a feeders to our trunk routes in the domestic market. And we have already chosen, which is an ATR, which is going to be served for us. And these routes will go into the cities, which is smaller cities, and then this aircraft will be in operation starting at the end of this year in terms of going to the city itself. The segmentation, we're going to see the businessman and also FITs, the non-sensitive pricing. So we are going to so-called add in terms of the choice of this market in terms of serving these people, which is in the areas who want so-called a better service in terms of with the turboprop itself. We have ordered 25 ATRs with about 10 options. And if you look at this right now, December we'll be serving it. We're going to be serving in Nusa Tenggara, which is Labuan Bajo, that is where the Komodo Island, Tambulaka, Bima, Mataram, Ende. And next year we're going to add some more. But this year we're going to start it, and we feel that this is some potentials that with not only the turboprop operation itself, but it also will serve as a feeder in terms of for our trunk routes in the domestic market itself. So that is one that we feel that what we can get more revenues in terms of the Indonesian market. Second, I think I would like to talk about is also about what Garuda is doing. We're joining this alliance itself. We looked at joining Global Alliance. It will increase about 2 to 10% of the total revenues of 2015. So this is what we are doing also, getting people more or getting people out of Indonesia more through the alliance itself. And also, we are also expanding our frequent flyer travelers. Revenue generated by the frequent travelers has been increasing about, in our market, about 17% per year. So you see more and more, these are the same people joining, traveling with us, and they are flying more frequent with us, and more our frequent flyers are growing on an average about 17% per year. And during the same period also, the revenue contribution of this frequent flyer has increased for us about 24% to 29%. So Garuda, we are also investing in this in terms of getting more and more. Indonesians, I think the market of people in Indonesia is more. We are a little bit different, I think, compared to the Westerners in terms of the customers. We have done so-called like a survey to our Indonesian passengers. What is actually what they see in terms of when they choose an airline? First, what they do is basically, of course, safety. Safety, it's non-negotiable. But cheapest was ranked number 7 in terms of them choosing an airline. What ranked number 2? What they say is the value for money. So Indonesians, they don't mind paying more as long as they get more in terms of the service, the convenience, whatever the add-ons that they can get. I think we've seen this. I think in the consumer products which is selling in Indonesia, if you see the luxury brands, more on the upper scale brands, it continues to grow. It continues to grow the sale in Indonesia because the Indonesians, they're now becoming more picky in terms of what they want. So you talk about, let's say, coffees like Starbucks, coffee beans, it's selling. I mean, the outlets, although you have to spend about 6 to 8 times more just for a cup of coffee compared to the other coffee shops. But people just want to go because they feel they want to be a part of this Starbucks or coffee bean environment where they can meet people, where they can. These are the things that is a potential on the Indonesian market. So in Garuda, we're still focusing on the middle upper segment, even though we're going to the turboprop, but this turboprop operation will be a little bit on a premium based. So this is what we see, and we feel that that Indonesia will keep on growing. Yes, we are struggling for our infrastructure in terms of our airports, our runway, our air traffic controllers, but government is also realizing, investing it. We, as an airline, also supporting in terms of how to move this faster, making sure the execution is being done, the plan is executed well and on time. So this is what we see in terms of the Indonesian market, and then I hope that this can enlighten ladies and gentlemen in terms of what Indonesia is and then what the potential of the market itself. So that's my final slide, and I thank you. Basically, in Garuda, we always say good is not good when much better is expected. So we want to continue to grow and to continue to improve. Thank you.
I would like to ask about your view about the cargo market, and do you have Garuda? Does Garuda has also planned to invest in air freight?
I've been in several meetings. It seems like people are giving up in terms of expecting the growth of cargo. Because in the last IATA meeting in Cape Town, it seems like cargo will be struggling in the so-called, I think, in the few years. There's excess capacity in cargo, as we know. And then I think the wide bodies of the cargo is also, a lot of them are being grounded right now. But I think that's global. If going to Indonesia, I think the potential, the growth is still there in terms of the cargo business itself. We are not yet decided. We have decided to invest into a freighter, but we postpone it because of the market. And right now, what we're looking is, because of this excess capacity in the market, we're looking to work with some operators who has a freighter, which we we can work together, and then basically, of course, with this kind of situation, we can get a very good cooperation deal in terms of that. So to answer you, no, we're not yet. We have decided to take a freighter, but we're postponing it. But we are still looking in terms of the growth for the domestic cargo.
Once, when we started 15 years ago or before, Garuda had a very huge international network, including United States, many destinations in Europe. And you talk about the very impressive development in Indonesia, in the region. So how are the plans of Garuda to expand internationally again to Europe, maybe United States, other parts of the world, either with Kite Team or Etihad partner? Would be interested to know a little bit about that. Terima kasih, Pak Emir.
Yes, in the past, Garuda flew everywhere, even to US. But unfortunately, we were losing money at that time, you know. So looking at that, we still want to grow internationally. That's why we are joining Sky Team, and then hopefully, or what we as Muslims say, inshallah, we are going to be officially in March 2014, formally joining, because right now we are linking the system. Etihad, we are still working with them in terms of expanding our network. So we will continue our international network because Indonesia is growing, and more people are also going to Indonesia. But we are going to grow not by building our fleet to basically to accommodate all of that, but we'll combine between our own fleet and also the alliances partners fleet in terms of that. But definitely we will grow internationally. Thank you.